to against the west face of the monument. The wide end of a soot V protruded above the upper edge of the tarp. That's the spot. The right-hand section of Monument Street, generally off-limits to traffic, was cordoned off and full of police cars. Lots of cops for a nuisance arson. A sergeant peered through her windscreen, then moved aside a cone and waved them in. Parking, Nigella grabbed her bag out of the back. She'd only taken a few steps when DCI Evans swung in beside her. "What's with the yard?" He tilted his head in OLeary's direction. "The yard?" OLeary responded. "Thought this might be related to the arson last week that disrupted the East Coast Main Line." "Not." Evans shook his head. Nigella wondered how he could be so sure. Then they reached the tent, and he lifted the flap. Scorch marks defaced the stone, and at their base, on the pavement, a figure lay curled in a fetal position and entirely blackened. "Holy Mary," OLeary breathed. So, not a nuisance. Self-immolation. Or murder. Nigella's breath caught and her pulse raced. It felt as if her heart was rising upward to meet the air trapped in her lungs, and in her head she heard a voice from her childhood whisper, "You're it, Jelly." "It's not what you think." A crouching man in a jumpsuit looked up from beside the blackened form. "Wilkinson. Good. He's as precise as I am." "What do you mean?" She stared at the form, unable to determine if it was male or female. The nose was nearly gone. Not a scrap of clothing remained. Just a naked, desiccated form so consumed by flames that it resembled charcoal riven with fissures. "It's wood." Wilkinson rose. "Someone ought to tell the poor, terrified old woman who discovered it smouldering." "I'm sorry to have called you out on your day off, Parker." DCI Evans cast Wilkinson an accusatory look, as if the forensic officer was responsible for the misunderstanding, though doubtless Nigella had been phoned before he arrived on scene. "It's fine, sir. I can always make a fresh pot of tea." In the rush of relief that the body was not a body, Nigella worked to sound nonchalant. She felt anything but. Whenever she stepped onto a crime scene involving death by fire, Nigella was washed over by fear. The terror of the victim, fresh, urgent, and hot, conjured by a vivid imagination, followed by her own throat-tightening fear, always murmuring the same thing. "I can't die like this. Any way but this." "Tea sounds good," DCI Evans replied. "I'm heading back to Wood Street. You lads have this, right?" It wasn't really a question, but one of the younger police constables piped up. "Sir, shouldn't someone interview the witness?" He jerked his head in the direction of a blue and yellow striped police vehicle. Nigella could see a white-haired head through the nearest window. "I'll do it," she offered. The uniform looked disappointed. Clearly, he'd thought by asking he'd be assigned the task, and there really wasn't any reason not to give it to him. Nobody dared. But there was something about the humanity of the form, and the crazy boldness of bringing something that large to the center of the city and lighting it on fire at a monument to fire. Nigella's police senses tingled. All cops, or at least the best ones, had them, the result of a subconscious loaded with years of prior case experiences. Every copper's intuition was different, but each knew you ignored that something is off feeling at your peril. "Right then, that's settled." Evans nodded, satisfied. None of the niggling uneasiness she was feeling, Nigella thought, looking into her governor's composed face. "What am I supposed to do? Take it."